Hello everyone, welcome to week 6 for English 1, 2, 3 Intermediate Composition. Hope everything is going well with your draft. I know things are getting pretty complicated and getting a little challenging with putting together that first draft. And remember, drafting is always a process. It's a process of trying to determine what you want to say, then writing it, and then revising it. Okay, so there's pre-writing, then there's composing or drafting, and then there's revising or refining. So the writing process is really key in this part of the class. Okay, it's always important to follow those steps. And again, remember from last week, if you ever get stuck, if you get writer's block, go back to pre-writing and start formulating those ideas and trying to think through whatever it is that's blocking that for you. So again, as always, please email me if you do come against any writer's block. So we're moving into week 6. This session is nearly over. We only have 2 to 3 weeks left. So week 6 is going to now move into a full draft. A full draft of your research paper. Last week you just took 3 pages for each section, totaling 6 pages. Now we're going to include the introduction and the conclusion and with the faith integration element. So follow those instructions specifically given in Blackboard and you should be okay. Okay, and I want to just have a word about late assignments. If you review your syllabus, I was allowing up to the 3rd day to turn in your late assignments. Now, there's been some flexibility with that, but at this point, we're going to have to, stick with the syllabus, because with the semester wrapping up, we can't have any papers lingering beyond, the specific late policy. So what we'll do for week 6, okay, if for any reason you need more time with the assignment due on Sunday of week 6, please email me before Sunday. It's important for you to make me aware of this. Let me know, and we can make an arrangement for you to have that turned in by that following Wednesday in week 7. After that point, no late work will be accepted. Okay, and I will send out an email about this, but after Wednesday of week 7, no late work will be accepted whatsoever. So the reason for that is because grades need to be turned in. I need time to grade these assignments. They're 200 points. They're significant. So I want to give you all the time that you need to really give you the grade that you deserve for your paper. And time is really important in doing that. Something that's worth 200 points needs some considerable consideration. And so I want to do that out of respect to you and out of respect for the work that you've done. Okay, so moving on from that, I wanted to have a word about conciseness about our papers. So I want you to really strive with this second essay, the second draft, to revise for conciseness. Now I'm going to post some tutorials from Purdue OWL on concision and how to eliminate unnecessary word usage, wordiness, how to avoid wordiness in your writing, and how to really pinpoint and say what you need to say and mean what you mean and bring clarity to your writing. That's really what happens when you write with conciseness. You're writing with clarity, and that's essential. Your reader shouldn't necessarily have to think through what you're writing too much. Now, you want to make them think, but you don't want to necessarily confuse them and make them have to think, what does that mean? This needs clarity. And you might see that come up in some of the grading, and it may come across bluntly, but it's just a note there just to let you know that there's some clarity that needs to be addressed, and you just work on that. Maybe some word choice, maybe some word order for the sentence structure, but conciseness will reduce the wordiness in your writing and will allow for the reader to really, truly, completely understand what you're trying to say. And that's really important for you, and it's important for your reader. So the tutorial that I'm going to post, those are optional readings. I strongly recommend you do read them because they're going to help you develop in your writing. This is the composition part of the class, so I want to really stress that the composition of your writing to where you're developing and progressing to becoming a writer of concise writing. Okay, so your professors are going to be looking for that when you get into your upper division courses. Concision is going to be very, very, very important. So be looking for that. One other thing I wanted to point out, um, if you, in the last few weeks, I posted a PowerPoint presentation on essay essentials. So I hope you've had a chance to review that. We're really looking for that kind of writing, that kind of approach to your essay. Now, there might be some differences in there that you might see from what Dr. Sung has mentioned in terms of, thesis development, things like that. So there is some flexibility, as we said before, that thesis development can be in first person. I'll give you the option, first or third person. If you're used to writing in third person, you can continue to do that. If you want to try a first person, that's fine. However, as I said before, keep things formal, academic, formal writing, standard American English, a professionalism in the writing. Okay, so we want to strive for that. We don't want to write as we would if we were having a conversation with a friend. You want to be thinking more of like a job interview or a resume or a cover letter. You want to maintain formality. It's not a conversation with a friend. It's a formalized presentation or argument or persuasive rhetorical piece of writing that you're trying to have someone take seriously. So keep in mind vernacular and slang and those types of things, contractions, those types of things are really something you want to avoid in your writing. And that's just for a formal essay like this. So the conciseness, the wordiness will help the quality of your writing. Avoiding common pitfalls, changing phrases, looking at those things that are going to really elevate your writing. So I kind of wanted to review a little bit. So if you really look at this research project, you're writing an essay, and this essay has one idea. This essay has one argument that you're making. And now there could be elements in that argument, but essentially you're saying one thing. You're arguing for or against or a change for some kind of policy, but there's one main controlling idea for that thesis and for that paper. So everything in that thesis is going to be, in a sense, it's going to be wrapped around that core of everything in that. In that research project is going to be wrapped around that core of the thesis. Okay, so keep that in mind. Kind of like, if you're thinking like as an atom, and the nucleus of the atom is really the thesis statement. So that might be an analogy that might help. But everything is like that's the core of your paper. So everything kind of comes out from that. So with that, you have your points that you're using for support of that thesis statement, and those points usually or typically should make up the topic sentences of your paragraphs. Your sources should be supporting the topic sentences of the paragraph. You're analyzing the quotes that you're using from your sources, and you're paraphrasing summaries. You're explaining those quotes, you're explaining that material, providing evidence, providing support. Okay, and then you're concluding from those paragraphs and transitioning using transitional phrases. As you remember from last week, I provided a tutorial on that. So you're transitioning from one idea to the next. You're really trying to focus on point by point, line upon line, a logical flow through the paper that will lead to that logical conclusion at the end, which is a mirror of the thesis statement that took place in the introduction. Now, so a research paper is made up of a thesis statement, is the core idea. That thesis statement is supported by the topic sentences of the paragraphs. Those paragraphs are made up of sentences. Those sentences are structured in a specific way that helps to convey meaning, and that's with subject and predicate. Every sentence has a subject and a predicate. A subject, a person, place, or thing, a noun, and a predicate, a verb, an action is happening in every sentence. If you don't have a subject, if you don't have a noun doing something, then it's not a complete sentence. Okay, then it's a fragment or incomplete sentence, or um, or even a run-on sentence. When you're combining two sentences together, you're going to have a run-on sentence. If you use a comma to combine two sentences, you have a comma splice, and that can be resolved by either a period or a semicolon. So sentence structure, I provided a tutorial on that with compound, complex, and compound complex sentences to help you kind of articulate more fluidly in your sentences. So now, then we come down to words. So the conciseness is going to deal with individual words within your writing and whether or not they should be there, whether or not they're carrying their weight in the sentence or in the paragraph. And if they're not necessary, we need to get rid of them. Now, a lot of times we're reluctant to remove words from our paper because we have a page number that we have to meet. And so we feel that if we put in a lot of words, it's going to take up space and we're going to be done quicker. But the only problem is that when we use a lot of wordiness and we use a lot of words, it actually produces a muddy meaning. It muddies up the meaning of the paper. It gets in the way of the reader really understanding what you're really trying to say. So you want to really seriously avoid wordy writing. And it's hard. It takes time. You have to develop that because we want to sound like we know what we're talking about. We want to come across as someone serious and has some authority, has some ethos. And a lot of times we try to make up for our ethos or create that ethos with lots of words. And sometimes we become a little too creative with our word structure and word usage, and we might use words that are maybe a little too overly intellectual or maybe under intellectual. So it's a balance of formality, intellectual, provoking material. So we want to be aware of that. So in this last week was sentences and paragraphs. Week before that was the essay as structure as a whole. So this week I want you to focus on the actual word choices, the individual elements of words that you're using. I want you, as you're revising and reshaping your paper, think about what words you're using in each individual sentence and determine whether or not that word should be there. It could, if it's a verb, is it the main verb? Is it the noun? Is it the subject? If it's an adjective, is it describing the noun? If it's an adverb, is it describing the verb? Is it a preposition? How is that preposition? How is that preposition working in the sentence to provide some kind of orientation or direction? Okay, so evaluate very stringently the word choices that you're using. Every word you use counts, and so it's either going to count for meaning or count against meaning. It's going to either be an obstruction or it's going to be a vehicle for meaning. So be very careful for clarity and meaning purpose to use your words very wisely and very you have a criteria. Okay, so that might be more than what you want to deal with at this point in the session, but it's going to help you revise your paper to the best it can be. Okay, now continue to utilize the Smart Thinking Tutor. Continue to, if you can, even go beyond Smart Thinking. Have anyone read your paper. If they can read it and they can understand it and they know where you're going with it, and they understand the main idea, and they understand your paragraphs, then you're probably on the right track. Have them underline and say, what in my paper may be confusing or maybe a digression. Okay, so just remember, you want to shoot for a straight line of meaning through your whole paper. Everything plugs into that thesis statement. Everything in the paragraph plugs into the topic sentence, and everything is connected within that sentence to provide the meaning. All those words line up to provide the specific meaning and word choice that you're using there. So I don't want to belabor that point too long, but that pretty much wraps up this video for this week. Again, let me know if you have any questions. Any concerns anytime? All right, well, good luck, and thank you for all your hard work and for really sticking through the class all the way through. All right, you have a great day. Thank you.